Hello, today we're going to be looking at a different method of solving systems of equations, which is called elimination. Elimination means we're getting rid of something. And so this is a different method than what we've seen other than substitution or graphing, because our goal with these is to eliminate or get rid of either our x's or our y's in both equations because they cancel. For today, the equations you're going to see whenever you add the equations together or subtract one equation from the other, you will have your x's or your y's or sometimes both cancel right away. In the future, we'll do some elimination that involves a little bit more work before that. But for today, things are going to be kind of a starting intro to this. So just like we've seen with substitution and with graphing, we've been given two equations. If we want to try to use the elimination method, what we want to do first is check to see if anything will cancel right away when we add the equations together. So let's look at this first problem as an example. If I were to add those equations together, so add the x's, add the y's, add the numbers, the x terms would cancel because negative x plus x, they're opposites. Negative x plus x is 0 or cancels. Continuing with the rest of the equation, negative 4y plus 1y is negative 3y. 0 plus negative 6 is negative 6. What's nice about that equation is it's really easy to solve for y from here. It's just one more step. Divide both sides by negative 3, and we end up with y equals 2. If we just had one equation with one variable in it, we would be done. However, we have two equations with two variables. I have one of them, I have y. I still need to find x. Just like with substitution, we're now going to take that y equals 2 and sub it into one of our original starting equations. I'm going to pick the bottom equation, but either one would be fine. So when I plug y equals 2 into the bottom equation, it's going to turn into x plus 2 instead of y equals negative 6. From here, I solve this for x. So I undo plus 2 by subtracting 2, and I get x equals negative 8. I have my number for x. I have my number for y. I'm mostly done. I just need to write my answer as an ordered pair. As always, x comes first, just like in the alphabet, and then y. So since my x number was negative 8 and my y number was 2, my ordered pair is negative 8, 2. And I'm all finished. Let's try the next one. So will things cancel when I add these two equations together? Negative 3x plus 3x is 0 because those are opposites. They cancel. Same with the y's. Negative 7y plus 7y are opposites. They cancel. Everything has canceled out of the left-hand side of the equation, so the left side is just 0 because I have nothing left. Right side, negative 10 plus 3 is negative 7. It's not possible for me to solve for x or y because my x's and y's have all canceled. This is instead one of our special situations. Just like when we solved regular equations before, I have different numbers on either side of the equal sign. When I have two different numbers on either side of the equal sign, there's no way that equation can ever be true. 0 is never equal to negative 7. They're two different numbers. So since that equation makes no sense and is never true, we call this no solution, just like back when we were solving regular equations. Let's try a couple more. So these ones sometimes trip people up. If I add these two equations here together, nothing cancels right away. It almost looks like it. But looking at the x's, that might be what you think will be canceling. Negative 10 plus negative 10 is negative 20 because they're both negative. I need to create opposites, one negative, one positive. I can create opposites by subtracting this whole bottom equation, which if we look back up to the words I had here in the notes, you may need to multiply one of the equations by negative 1. That's just another way of saying subtract the other one of the equations. If I subtract the bottom equation, I will get things to cancel. This negative goes to everything in the bottom equation. So negative 10x is the same as 10x. Negative 10x plus 10x is 0. So the x's cancel. 2y minus 4y gives me negative 2y. And then once again with the numbers here, negative 26 minus negative 22 is really the same as negative 26 plus 22, which is negative 4. Just like in the first problem, I now have an equation that's pretty easy to solve. I need to divide by negative 2 to get y by itself, and I end up with y equals 2. I now need to take that y equals 2 and plug it into one of my starting equations. I'm going to choose the top equation. So my top equation turns into negative 10x plus 2. Instead of y in parentheses, I put 2 equals negative 26. From here, I solve this like usual. Negative 10x plus 2 times 2 is 4. And then do whatever you need to do to get x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And last but not least, divide by negative 10. And I end up with x equals positive 3. We are mostly done. I just need to write my answers in ordered pair. My x number comes first, so 3, then my y number, which is 2. Let's try one more to make sure we really got it. So once again, with this last one, if I were to add these together, nothing would cancel. 3 plus negative 10 is negative 7. 5 plus 5 is 10. So that doesn't help. However, if I subtract the whole bottom equation, this 5y will turn into a minus 5y, and I will have things cancel. So we're going to subtract the bottom equation. 3 minus negative 10 is the same as 3 plus 10. So I'm going to end up with 13x here. 5 minus 5 gives me 0. So 5y minus 5y cancels. 10 minus 10 also gives me 0. It is okay to end up with something like this, something x equals 0. We can still solve that. To get x by itself, I need to divide both sides by 13. 0 divided by anything other than 0 is 0. So I get that x equals 0. It is perfectly fine for x or y or both to equal 0. So far, so good. Now I take the x equals 0 and sub it into one of my starting equations. I'm going to choose the top equation, make sure it goes in the x spot since it's an x number. So the top equation turns into 3, 0 in parentheses instead of x, plus 5y equals 10. Now let's get this solved. 3 times 0 is just 0. And you might have recognized, hey, I don't usually write 0 plus 5y. It's like that's canceled in the first place. You could just say 5y equals 10, because 0 plus 5y and 5y are the same. Last step to get y by itself is to divide by 5. We end up with y equals 2. Finishing touches, we need to write our answers in ordered pair. X number first, so 0, then y number 2. So most of the time for these, you'll be able to get an x and y ordered pair. Sometimes you may end up with no solution if all of your variables cancel and you end up with different numbers on either side of the equal sign. On your assignment for today, you will have things eliminate either when you add the equations together, or if you don't already have opposites, you might need to subtract the bottom equation like we looked at in the last two. That is it for today. I hope you have a wonderful day.